Hey guys, hope you all had a really good week. We need to talk about the Dell Vostro 3510. And the reason for that is we've had a number of these back with the exact same fault. Okay, so the fault is when you lift up the cover, doing this with one hand. Can you see it right there? Yes, you can. The two little brass inserts. They're meant to be fixed in the plastic on the back cover. And what happens is you go to lift it up one day, lift up the lid, and these pop out of the back cover. So what you have to do is very, very carefully open this, and I'm going to show you what the fix is for it. So I've carefully opened up the laptop lid so as not to do any further damage. And as you can see here, it doesn't look like there's much damage on the front here, but if you look in closer, and you will see that this part is sitting, the bezel is coming off the front, and if I look in at the back there, I can see those two threaded brass inserts. The third one is also pulled out on this. So what's happened is when you open the lid, they pull out of the plastic because the fixing of these threaded brass inserts is not strong enough. It's not a great design, to be honest, and hinges are quite tight when they come out of the factory. So what I've been doing to replace these is to get a new back cover, which looks like this. So there's a brand new back cover right here. Now there's a bit more to this than you might think, because I can't just simply unscrew a back cover from this and screw the new one on. What you have to do is you have to remove the screen, remove the wireless, remove the webcam, and move them all into the new back cover, and then fit the back cover onto your laptop. So there's a bit of work involved in it. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Okay, the first step is to take off the whole assembly where the screen is housed. I've done a good few of these and I find it's easier to do that. So the first step to doing that is obviously to take off the back. So there's about 6 screws on it. We just go through those one by one, very easily screw it, and then lift off the back. When you're removing this, just be careful, because these two screws on the left and right stay in the cover. So don't like force them out or anything like that. Just make sure that they're fully unscrewed, and when you do that, you can take it off just like this. Okay, and what we're going to do to free the screen assembly is to take out these 2 screws right here and these 2 screws right here. Fortunately, they're marked for you anyway. So they're 2.5 mil. So we're going to take those out, and that'll free the screen assembly, and we can take that to one side. I've taken out those screws so you can see that I can now gently bend back that hinge. Just be careful with it. So I'm bending that back. See, it's broken from the front cover, so there's not a lot of tension on it. Oh, you want to see my hand? Okay, so that's that one, and this one obviously is not broken, so it's a lot easier to do. So you're just tilting that back like that. And the next thing we want to do is, first of all, take out the battery cable, which is this one right here. It's always advised to do that before going near the screen cable. Then flip up this here. So I'm sticking my thumb in underneath here, my thumbnail, and flipping that back up, okay? And then gently take out the cable here. So with that freed up, we can then take out our wireless adapter. So what I do is I normally plug it out from here and just keep it all in the one unit. So I'm going to unscrew that and lift out these wires right here, and that will allow me to take the whole screen assembly away. This is my brand new back cover, which I just bought. We have to buy these from the UK because you can't buy them in Ireland. So it's a little bit more expensive since Brexit and things like that. We get charged a customs fee coming through. I think these are worth about 30 sterling, I think I bought it for, but then with shipping and different things, it gets to about maybe 55, 60 euro by the time it gets here. So as you can see, we have 3 brand new threaded inserts fixed into the plastic. So what we need to do now is we need to move our screen, our webcam, and our wireless antennae from this old back cover into this new back cover. And there's quite a little bit of work involved in it, but let's take it step by step. Okay, first thing we need to do is to unscrew our hinges to get them out of the way. So we unscrew our, oh, right, yeah, forgot about that. So what we do over here is we unscrew these ones. And, oops, just doing this with one hand. So we're unscrewing these. And the third one. And that releases our hinge. It's just better to get them out of the way. I don't think you have to, no, you do actually have to remove them as well. So, with our hinges removed, we now need to remove the screen. Now the screens are no longer bolted into the back of these back covers anymore. They're held in by tape, so this makes the job a little bit trickier. So what we're looking for here is, on this particular model, our tape is right here, so you can see this. Now the way I do this is to try and get it through the hole. That's like a loop there, so you push it through and then pull this out. Okay, do you see what I'm doing there? And keep pulling that. Okay, so I keep pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. This is a little disconcerting the first time you do it, but it's actually easy enough once you get the hang of it. And we're nearly there. So I'm just going to grab the rest of it down here and keep pulling, 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 pulling. And you can feel it releasing. Hopefully this is coming out on the video. So then again, come back here and pull and pull and pull. And one more time. It's still going. And it snaps out like that. So when it snaps out like that, that then frees. You see the screen comes out there. This is the second tape. So once again, same job, just lift it out and let, almost like threading it through the hole. Let's see if you can see that there. See the way there's two sides of it? So you push it through that and then just grab it like that and keep pulling. And just do the same again and that frees up the other side. Now with the two sides removed, we can simply lift up our screen. And what I would recommend at this point is get your own camera and video everywhere these cables go. They do a good job of drawing lines on the back to show you where they are. But believe me, when you're putting this back together, even for the position of the different clips and stuff and where the tape is. So this is where it goes here, and then right in here, that's tucked underneath that clip, and then the other wireless cable comes in here, across here, and then up there. So it's very useful to have that so we can then go back to it if we should get confused at any point as to where the cables go. So next I'm just going to pull out the cables. So literally just pull it out like that. It's just stuck to the back of the back cover. Now that we have our video, we don't really need to worry about where it's routed because we know where it will go. So just up at the top, be just careful with the webcam. You just need to get something to pry this out. I will use this to pry it out at the top in here, but just to be careful not to break any element of this. With the wireless, I would just take out that tape there. Sorry, there's a lot of my hand in this video. So simply lift up that like that, and this pops out. You see it there? So that pops out. And then we just need to release it and work it the whole way down and around. Lift out that tape as well. Same on the other side, just release this here. We pull back that tape there and just release it as well. So that's releasing the wireless, the webcam, and we've already released the screen. So I'm going to take those elements out, move this bad cover to one side and then move our good cover in, and then start reassembling all of our items into that new back cover. I've removed all of the wires, and there's just one thing I think it's unique to this model. These metal bars along the side here, for some reason they don't give you these with the new cover, as you see here. So there's no metal frame there. So what we need to do as well is we need to take those out. It's easy enough to do. You just reach in behind it and pull it out. So this is our metal frame removed. What we need to do now is put it into our new back cover. So as you can see, there's a little hole up here, so you just let it into that, ease it down then on top of this piece right here, and then just press it down. There's little clips along the side where it shoves in, so you need to tuck those in. And there we go. And just do the same for the other side then as well. When you're refitting the wireless elements and the webcam, they actually help you out quite a bit with this. So if you look at this, on this side right here, you can see there's a plastic sort of guide on this side and also on the other side, and a little hole where the cable goes out. So it's really easy that you just sit it in there, and between this plastic here and this plastic here, you know that this sits. So you sit it in there and just push down the sticker there to hold it in place, and then run the wire. Similarly for the webcam, you've got a plastic wall there, and there's like a plastic wall over here as well, and that helps keep the webcam in place. Now with the webcam, it obviously has to be centered, so it's very important. Otherwise the camera won't come through the hole in the bezel. But again, they make this really easy for you by having those positions marked out. With the cable here as well, there's two little walls of plastic, and the cable goes through that right there, so you really can't make a mistake. You just need to just give it a check over after you've moved it in. Similarly with this element right here, so we just match the same way as it was on the other one. This peels back, you feed the cable through, and then put that cable back across and just seal it in. So with those three elements in place, we now need to run our wires in the same way as they were run on the old back cover. So I'm going to do that now, and I'm going to come back when I've got those run. And this is what it looks like after me rerunning the cables. So as you can see, I've used a bit of insulating tape to tape back in the wireless wires. There's still a bit of adhesive on the webcam cable, so I've just used that. So as you can see, I've done the same run as what was on the old cover. And we have our two wireless cables coming out here, and we have our LVDS cable coming out here. So the next step is to fit the screen. Now you may remember that when we were releasing the screen from the old back cover, we needed to pull out some tape that was holding it in place. Now what I've found with these is you don't really need to put tape in. I've found that even having the bezel over the front of it is usually enough to hold these in. However, in this scenario, I'm going to use this just to give it a little bit of extra strength. So we've got our Unibond double-sided tape. So what we're going to do is we are going to put a little strip. We obviously can't put it on this section here. For some reason they have a bit of padding, but we can put some here and here. So making sure that we have our LVDS cable fitted properly and a bit of tape over it to secure it in place, I'm now going to use my double-sided tape. This is my Unibond double-sided tape in place. So what you do is you cut off a section of it, stick it down, and then peel back the other side like this. And that's how it works. This is a really good product, by the way. I'd recommend using it. It's just really neat, and does what it says on the tin, you know, double-sided tape. But the next thing to be sure of is just to make sure that the LVDS cable is actually working before you fit the screen in. Because if you fit the screen in and you discover that the LVDS cable is loose or anything like that, you then have to work against the cable to get, or against the double-sided tape to get it back out again. Okay, I've double checked the LVDS cable, it's fine, and I've sat my screen back in here. So you may remember we have two sections of double-sided tape here. So what I do is I just lightly press down on it just to make sure that it holds it in place there. And same over here. The double-sided tape is very good because it doesn't, you know, hold it in to the point that you'll never get the screen back out again. If you did make a mistake, you know, you can get it, just pull it back out and use another fresh piece of double-sided tape. So it's good in that way as well. Or if somebody else needed to replace the screen on it. So that is our screen back in place. We have our cables for our wireless coming out the front here. Our cable for our LVDS, our video cable right here. And we now need to place our bezel back over the front. So I'm going to do that now. Before putting the bezel back in, we obviously have to put in the hinges first, of course. So you just fit it in here as it was before and put in our 2.5mm screws on both sides. And now is a good time, if you want to do it, to loosen up these hinges right here. It's up to yourself, of course. If you loosen it, it will make the lid a little bit more floppy, I suppose, you know, a tendency to not hold its position as well. But I think it's a better bet to slightly loosen these. And you loosen it by just turning this one right here. So you're turning it to the left, maybe a quarter turn or half turn, depending on what your own preference is. But I'm going to screw back in those hinges now, and then we're going to replace the bezel. This is what it looks like with the bezel back on. So what you want to do with the bezel back on is to check around here, because if you have any of the cables that are in a wrong path, then it usually manifests itself by not being able to close the bezel properly. So go around the edges, check every single spot, check that it's pressed in, just dab it in like that. Just it looks okay to me. So we have our cables coming out to the side here and our LVDS cable coming out right here. So what we need to do next is to place these back in their original positions. Okay, so these are our hinge clips. So what we need to do is we need to put these back on the right side. What I normally do here is I match these up. Can you see it there? So we've got each clip is matched up alongside. I think there's a small bit of damage in that one there. So we need to flip that over and push it back down. This is why it's important to take the pictures so that you know how this should look when you're finished. So what I do is I move the hinge clip over my hinge and back into place like this. Snap it into place, and our cable should be coming out to the side. And similarly on the other side, we take our wireless cables and tuck them in here and place my hinge clip over my hinge and just work it down and snap that into place as well, like that. There should be no gaps, it should be solid. You can feel around just to make sure it doesn't come off again. So yeah, that's stuck in place and I think we're good to go. So once again, this is the one thing that can catch you out as well. They're tucked out to the side and out to the side. So we now have our whole assembly back in one piece and it's time to fit it back into the laptop. Okay, so we need to install our full LED assembly back into our motherboard. So as you can see, we're doing the reverse of the procedure we had initially. Just click that in place and then move this into place as well. Then just let this sit back. And now what we can do is we can screw in our hinges, which I've loosened by a quarter turn. Then next I'm going to reinstall our wireless card. And then this is important. Before connecting back in our battery, you need to connect the LVDS cable first. Because if you connect the battery first, there is a chance that when reconnecting our LVDS cable, it could touch off something that has live voltage and blow the backlight fuse or cause damage. So the LVDS cable goes back in, and the last thing we do is connect the battery then. I've put the back on the laptop and turned it back over, and the screen is working okay. As you can see here, there's a bit more give on the hinge. Now obviously we have to tell the customer that, because just in case they pull it expecting the resistance that was on the old hinge. But I've found that this helps to mitigate for the problem. Now, I understand that, people want the laptops smaller nowadays. So they are going to be, lighter and not as robust. But I think these are not a great design. We've seen a lot of these, as I've said already. And this has been very painstaking to film each step. I'm sure it's painstaking to watch, and hopefully it's going to be of use to somebody who has the same laptop. But transferring each of the items across to the new back cover is quite a bit of work. But I'm going to leave it at that for today. That is how you put a new back cover on a Dell Vostro 3510. Please leave any comments you have below, and I'll be back with something hopefully a little bit more interesting next week. Thank you.